And then we'll be followed by Emily Lawsin. So wonderful. I've had her a number of readings, and she's spectacular. It's fun. She is. And she's been on the Fawns as national president, and has written and taught at Michigan and California, and has co-authored a book, Filipino Women in Detroit.
Oh my goodness, I gotta take a picture. Hold on. I don't know when the last time we had this big of a crowd. Say Pagdariwang, y'all. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you. I'm Emily Porcincula Lawsin, and I just really want to say a big thank you, maraming salamat po, to Manong Bob, Dr. Robert Francis Flor, for organizing this. He does this every year as a volunteer for, I don't know how long now, 20 years? 20 years. So 20 of the 40 years Pagdariwang has been around. He's been organizing these literary salons. So give it up for Manong Bob and Cultura Arts. Just really amazing. I'm really honored to be reading with my mentors and my friends who I actually wouldn't be who I am and where I am today without any of them. I'll just go down the line. I mean, we'll start with Auntie Dorothy. Auntie Dorothy Ligo Cordova, our Khalifa on the Filipino youth activities and the founder of the Filipino American National Historical Society, or FONS, which I served for 30 years on that board. And she and Uncle Fred raised me since I was a young girl, and I'm just internally grateful to you, Auntie Dorothy, and honored to be on the program with you today. Manong Peter Bacho, my first Filipino-American history professor at the UW many decades ago. Just had a lot of grace for me that year, and amazing inspiration to me in my life as a writer as well. Thank you, Manong Pete. And Dr. Andres Sunny Tangalin, who you just heard from, former principal of Franklin High, go Quakers, and the founding trustee of FONS, an incredible mentor to many of us who grew up in the South End. And Efren Edwards, who's about to come up next. Efren, old friend, I went to elementary school at St. Edwards. Yay, St. Edwards! I went to school with his sisters, Darlene and Doreen, who are here in the audience, and his whole family is here, so give it up for the Edwards family. And we grew up with their cousins, too, on the FYA. Hey, what's up, Tino? Come on in. So I'm going to read a poem, because I'm a poet, and that's what we do. I wrote 30 years ago in honor of my mother, the late Emma Floresca Lawsin. Some of you may have known her. She immigrated to Seattle, or what she called Shuttle, to join her two sisters, and you may have known them too, Isabel Ordoña and Nora Espanol, in the central area after World War II. I think Auntie Isabel and Uncle Johnny Ordoña had a house, she said, where Seattle University is now, where the old Jean Lynn School of Nursing was, and that's where their house was. I think you guys lived up there too, right? The 11th, your parents, 11th in that area, Seattle University area. Yeah, and then they moved. My Auntie Nora came with her husband, who was a Philippine scout, a Bataan Corregidor survivor, and they moved to 18th and Pike, which is like 2 blocks from the FONS office. So I literally grew up there in the central area and also in the Rainier Valley. And my mom was the longest serving council member. She served 40 years on the council of the Filipino community of Seattle until the day she died. And we actually had her rosary in the new, back then, renovated Filipino Community Center. And she served as the manager of their senior lunch program after she retired. For many years. And so I wrote this for her one day when I was down there, and I had lunch. I think it was like $3. And we had salmon sinigang. Salmon sinigang and rice, and then we danced the Manong Oscar. Here's a seat right here, Manong Oscar. Give it up for Oscar Peñaranda, my cousin all the way from the San Francisco Bay, right there. All right, he's coming up next in the next program. All right, so I think they do still serve that lunch at the FCS. So you can go down there and you can do Zumba now and everything. I think we did line dancing with them. So this is called Nanay's Hands for Emma Floresca Lawsin. On this rain-packed afternoon, I watch my mother's hands, the color of abused sandpaper, sift back and forth over her tempered walk, searing glass noodles, shards of pork, and burnt onion skins. Stooped over, she prepares this lost supper for an arthritic army of the young once singers, performing Dahil sa'yo, because of you, nais kong mabuhay. Yeah, y'all can sing, I can't. When finished, the chorale belts out mabuhay, toasting their creamed senka towards the senior center's kitchen counter, where Nanay, her silver hair laughing, raises her wrinkled fist to return their styrofoam salute. The palmolive bottom resting on the sink never did manicure her hand scars from the 30 years of carding laundry, her hand scars from making Jell-O glass bottles in a dimly lit glass factory, her hand scars from stitching sportscasters' ski wear, her hand scars from canning salmon in Naknek, Alaska, her hand scars from cooking white linen table lunches at Frederick and Nelson's downtown. Her hand scars from processing photo fumes mere blocks from this building at the old CX lab built on the historic site of Seattle's Sick's Stadium, home plate of Bobby Balsena, the Seattle Rainiers, and the great old American sport. Now Nanay, in her retired age, earns nothing but a bowling glove-looking hand cast, dual glaucoma, and a knee battle with gout from sitting on the hard factory stools too long. Yet she still insists on laboring in this FCC kitchen, ignoring the rhythm of thunder ticking by, her chafed hands molding edible creations, her handmade ammunition to resist joining the other Manang's senior ranks. Raming Salamat, thank you. This is an excerpt from a poem that I wrote in this book, Troubling Borders, and I did a real little remix. We used to teach this writing workshop called Where Are You From? Because as the scholars Vijay Prasad, Helen Zia, and Stuart Hall say, when folks ask you where you're from, like as an Asian American or a Filipino American, they're really asking you when the hell you're going back, right? And we do this as a script poem with youth and elders. And this is one of my many. This is called Where I Am From, a free write remix. I am from my father's busted dresser that doubles as a makeshift altar with a mahogany Virgin Mary and red velvet Santo Niño statue that stares down at us praying on our knees every New Year's Eve. I am from rows of broken down Datsuns, Cadillacs, and junkyard vans littering ribbons of thorn bushes and prune trees where the Doberman Labrador Retriever coyote named Satan chases me down Rainier, and the neighbor Jones kids throw firecrackers down Mama's white stone chimney. I am from the south end of the 206 where yarmulkes, kimonos, and daishikis float freely. On Saturdays, when neighbors on the right walk right past the synagogues and the alphas on the left stomped in their step show in the street. I am from the lakes that line the Pacific, the rhythm of raindrops that writes poetry in the sand, El Rio del Porciuncula, that floods into painted Rainier painted sewer drains, and the black-bottomed soils of a paved-over paradise. I am from 19th and John, Pinoy Hill and Seward Park, Rainier and Othello, 18th and Marion. I am really from my Lola Carmen, born 9 years after the Revolution and 30 years before women's suffrage in the colonial Philippines, who birthed 6 children, yet only 5 survived. I am from that same grandmother who during World War II had to resort to selling socks, not stocks, on the black market as an insulation for the army men's feet, then ran uphill to the mountainside with a pillow stuffed up her skirt to protect her from being raped by the soldiers. Stretched stolen socks silencing silent dreams. I am from Lolo Sergio Sr., the stern patriarch who immigrated to Seattle to follow his pioneer war bride daughters right before I was born, then worked as a low-paid post office guard while his wife, our grandmother, steamed rice in our sleep. I am from my Auntie Nora, my mother's ate, oldest sister, who as a teen in Tondo rolled tobacco at the Alhambra cigar factory to help make ends meet. She never smoked herself, yet her grandchildren always wondered why she suffered from lung disease. I am from her husband, my uncle Eddie Espanol Sr., who fought in the Philippine Scouts long enough to re-enlist under the U.S. flag before the Rescission Act could rescind his benefits. I am from one Thanksgiving dinner when Uncle Eddie showed us kids the bites on his leg from the Bataan Death March, denied that he had PTSD, then passed it on to his 2 Vietnam veteran sons, and we were never the same. I am from my sisters Leandro, who, with calloused hands from picking unripe grapes, cutting asparagus and fields of lettuce, building bunkhouses and picket lines, like thousands of immigrant Pinoys, struggled to put food on their kitchen tables, moved from crop to crop from the California Delta to Seattle. I am from those same migrant uncles, ninongs and monongs, who became privates and sergeants in America's first Filipino infantry regiment, whose enlistment papers checked their civil occupation off as gardeners and groundkeepers, parks, cemeteries, etc., as if there were no other words to describe stoop labor. I am from my father, Vicente, or Vincent, a merchant marine who followed MacArthur after the general declared his I have returned speech on the hometown of Tacloban shores, gambled away all his minimum wage in pursuit of the American dream. I am from that papa who, after 40 years of his U.S. citizenship, was finally called to jury duty, wore his juror badge proudly for weeks, framed his I serve certificate from the King County Courthouse to display in our cracked china cabinet, volunteered to serve 3 more times, proclaiming to the judges that aside from voting, jury duty was his highest honor, to finally feel like a true American. I am from the schoolyard fights on the playgrounds of Rainier Valley, where Catholic bullies called my kuya a faggot, my other brother a retard, and my mother a fat pig who reeked like fish. I am from the asphalt of lies that I fed my mom when she asked why my knees and knuckles came home bleeding, because I had no words, no heart to translate all that. I am from my Lolo's apartment by the old Chubby and Tubbies on Rainier, where we bought our fake Keds and white shoe polish to march in the FYA drill team, hugging bamboo poles we called boyfriends, tapping the Castellano beat. Left, right, left, dot, dot, dot. I am from the Alianic, Barakat, and Okanya rhythms of the kungas, triple drums, cowbells, gangsa, frying pans, agong, gandingas, and kalingtongs, fed by Uncle Fred and the Cordova brothers' jam session beats. I am from the July 4th on Pinoy Hill. I am from weekends in July when we marched down Cherry Street and up 23rd in the Black Festival Parade, then changed our clothes in the FYA Sunshine Van, or at my grandma's house on 20th and Main to dance coal miners dance in Bonadori, and get up the next day to march in the Chinatown Parade. I am from the land of 700 lumpias, not egg rolls as they say in the Midwest. I am from 4.1 million coconuts scorching in this raucous red glare. I am from 156 pancit noodles linking our kin, 5 generations of peanut kare oxtail stewing, and a papa who swallowed a steamed rock-cod eye-fish bowl whole and with raw egg on rice and called that a meal. I am from 10 different versions of these Where Are You From poems, the tossed-out tonsu chest my husband wanted to burn, and the cracked computer that keeps on crashing. I am from the exploded pen that never stops to complete these poems. I am from the strong ways of herstory, of our story, from the Pinay Khalifa crafting poetry and weaving truths, giving birth to bye-bye lawns and Diwata dreams. I am Pinay, where I can forgive, but I never forget. Thank you.